Today we're going to be going over my Leaguestart farming strategy, which involves Blight, Essence, and a third league mechanic of your choosing at the end. So to start things off, I always like a Atlas tree similar to this. It helps us progress our Atlas very easily because we get a lot of extra maps through these shaping nodes. And then grabbing a value point here gives us more Curac missions. And Curac missions can be used to help fill in the gaps. We might just not be able to drop some maps just by being unlucky, and then we'll find the map through Curac and complete it that way. This is a very easy way to start the league because we're not adding anything tough. This does not make the maps harder in any way. If you need something specific, like say a June unveil, you can just get a value point here so that more of your random master missions will be June. So that's something I may do. This sort of strategy is good if you might be weaker on a league start. So if you're doing a bow build or maybe a self-caster like Spark where you want to, gear yourself up to become powerful, I would advise not grabbing anything too difficult. And this sort of mentality continues on with my next points, where we grab Shrine as well as these Shrine nodes that buff them quite a bit. There is a third one up here. I don't think it's worth getting early, but it is an option. So shrines are going to make maps faster to run because you're going to get acceleration shrines. You're going to get other shrines that boost your character. For example, with Spark, there's the Spell Echo shrine. There's tons of great shrines. This is just very solid for a beginner league start. And after this, we're going to want to spec into Blight. Now, Blight isn't too important to do early because really you're going to want to do this in red maps. I don't think it's worth our time doing it before then. So this strategy is going to use Stream of Consciousness. If you're using Stream of Consciousness, you can't use Scarabs. And since we can't use Scarabs, we're going to want to get as much Blight as possible. So we're going to end up blocking some stuff that are not good. Now, for running Blighted maps, we're going to want to do them in enclosed areas. This just happens to be really nice for Spark. So if your build can do closed maps as opposed to open maps like Dunes, this is a good strategy for you. The maps we're going to want to do is probably Toxic Sewers and Waste Pool. The reason being, in these tight maps, it's much more likely to get a single Blight lane, and when we get a single Blight lane, it drastically increases the odds of us dropping blighted maps, which is one of the key reasons why we're running Blight to begin with. As for running blighted maps ourselves, I do have a video coming out next, which will cover exactly how to do blighted maps on any build for extreme budget. It's going to go over ring annoyance strategy, etc. So you can look out for that. But as for this passive tree, if you're not using Scarabs, so you go Stream of Consciousness and then we grab Fungal Bloom. And if you are using Scarabs, because the Scarabs are cheap, they guarantee Blight and it's worth using, you will unspec this and you will unspec Fungal Bloom. Everything else will be the same. So just keep that in mind. For budget, Stream of Consciousness, Fungal Bloom. For investing in the Scarabs, you can take that off, you can take that off. You can unblock stuff if you want, but I would personally just leave them blocked if you already have them blocked, because we don't want to be doing random mechanics that slow us down anyways. So we are skipping some Blight nodes. The Blight nodes down here, not important. They make the map more difficult. Maybe in the future, you might want to grab these to speed up the map, but not important. We're not grabbing Mycelial Swarm because I expect the Curac costs to be more expensive than the Scarab, and even if it's not, we are going to be progressing into Essence, and we're going to want to use the Essence mod, so this doesn't really make sense. One last thing to say with regards to Blight is that sometimes you are going to get a layout where you just have a terrible Blight spawn and you're going to fail it, so don't worry too much about that. It's something that will happen from time to time. Moving on, now we're running out of points, so we're deep into red maps. We start grabbing the Essence nodes. I like to grab them later on because on Spark, when you get into maps, you're still pretty weak. You haven't transitioned into Crit Spark yet. You do that with Uber Lab. So we want a league start that's very friendly to our character. Essences are hard. They're like adding more bosses into the map. So I like to give my build time to ramp up, and I do the essences on red maps. If you're doing a high damage skill, like, I don't know, Ice Trap or whatever, maybe you should alter the tree and grab these before Blight, but this is my reasoning for grabbing essences at the end. And then my final points I'm putting into Strongboxes. So the way I like to do my Leaguestart is I like to have one mechanic that possibly takes a lot of time. For example, Blight, Harvest, Expedition. And then the rest of the map, I just want to blast through really, really fast. Strongboxes, essences are really efficient with time. So we're still going to waste like a minute doing the Blight, but we're going to get quite a bit of currency back from that. And then we're going to get really efficient currency for our time with the other two mechanics. There are several other options you can do for the last mechanic. Harbinger is very close to our tree. Also, Incursion is all right. Heist may be profitable. I personally don't like bulk selling heist contracts, but this might be the best option. Metamorph is close, although similarly to Essence, you will want to have a pretty strong character to do that. This is my proposed Leaguestart tree. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on Stream of Consciousness, but eventually we will definitely take off Stream of Consciousness and take off Fungal Bloom and use the Scarabs, because getting Blight every map is very important. Keep an eye out for the Blighted Maps video coming out next, and I will see you guys live for the Leaguestart.